Cannabis, often called the sacred plant, has been intertwined with human culture for thousands of years. Archaeological and historical records reveal its significance in spiritual, medicinal, and ritualistic practices across many ancient civilizations. From the temples of India to the mystic shamanic rituals of Siberia, cannabis was regarded not merely as a plant, but as a divine gift, a conduit to the sacred realms. In Hindu traditions, cannabis is closely associated with Lord Shiva, the destroyer and transformer. Devotees consumed bhang, a cannabis preparation, during festivals like Holi, to invoke Shiva's blessings, transcend mundane reality, and embrace spiritual ecstasy. Similarly, ancient Chinese texts like the Pen Cao Qing reference cannabis's medicinal and spiritual qualities, underscoring its revered status. Even in pre-Christian European cultures, cannabis was woven into the fabric of religious and magical rites. Some scholars suggest that the Celts and Scythians used cannabis smoke in ritual purification and communication with the spirit world. The plant's psychoactive properties were harnessed not for mere pleasure, but as a sacred tool to bridge human consciousness with higher planes of existence. This ancient reverence emphasized intention. Cannabis use was never casual or purely recreational. It was embedded within ritual, ceremony, and collective practice. The context in which the plant was consumed shaped the experience and its spiritual significance. The collective energy of the ritual, the prayers, chants, and mindful setting all contributed to transforming the cannabis experience into a sacred encounter. However, with the passage of time, the cultural and spiritual meanings attached to cannabis shifted dramatically. Political, social, and economic forces marginalized and criminalized the plant in many parts of the world, detaching it from its sacred roots. Today, as we witness the resurgence of cannabis in legal and cultural spheres, it is vital to remember and honor its ancient spiritual heritage. Understanding cannabis's sacred origins helps us appreciate its deeper potential, not just as a recreational commodity, but as a catalyst for insight, healing, and spiritual growth. Yet, this potential depends profoundly on how it is used, with intention, respect, and awareness. In today's world, cannabis has undergone a profound transformation. From its sacred status in ancient times, it has evolved into a global cultural commodity, widely traded, commercialized, and consumed for various purposes. This shift reflects complex social, legal, and economic changes that have altered how the plant is perceived and used. One of the most significant developments is the gradual legalization and decriminalization of cannabis in many countries and states. This legal shift has opened the doors to a booming industry, ranging from medicinal products to recreational cannabis markets. The plant is no longer confined to ritual spaces or traditional ceremonies. It is found in dispensaries, grocery stores, and even luxury boutiques. Cannabis branding, marketing, and product diversification have turned it into a multi-billion-dollar global market. This commercial expansion comes with both opportunities and challenges. On the positive side, legalization has allowed for more research into cannabis's therapeutic benefits, enabling patients to access medicines derived from the plant. It has also created jobs, generated tax revenues, and helped reduce the criminalization of users in many places. However, the commodification of cannabis risks diluting its spiritual and cultural significance. When cannabis becomes a product marketed primarily for profit, Its sacred aspects may be overshadowed by consumerism and hedonism. The plant's deeper meaning, once tied to intention, ceremony, and collective practice, can be lost in the rush for profits, mass production, and recreational use. The cultural framing of cannabis varies widely across the world. In some societies, cannabis remains deeply tied to traditional spirituality and community rituals. For example, Rastafari culture continues to regard cannabis as a sacrament, a holy herb used for prayer, meditation, and social unity. Its use is embedded within a framework of respect, moral conduct, and spiritual awakening. In contrast, in many Western countries, cannabis is often framed more as a recreational drug or wellness product. This framing emphasizes individual pleasure, relaxation, or health benefits, rather than collective or spiritual experience. The cultural meaning is thus more fragmented, and many users may lack the guidance or context to engage with cannabis in a spiritually meaningful way. Moreover, the rise of cannabis tourism and popular culture references sometimes perpetuate stereotypes or trivialize the plant's complex history. This can contribute to misunderstanding, misuse, or superficial engagement that misses the plant's potential as a spiritual ally. The commodification also raises ethical and environmental concerns. Large-scale cannabis farming may involve intensive resource use and environmental impacts. The corporate control of cannabis markets can marginalize traditional cultivators and indigenous communities who have long preserved the plant's sacred knowledge. Despite these challenges, there is a growing movement to reclaim cannabis's spiritual roots within the modern cultural landscape. Many groups advocate for mindful consumption practices, education on the plant's history, and integration of traditional wisdom into contemporary use. This movement encourages users to approach cannabis not merely as a commodity, but as a sacred ally, a plant medicine that deserves respect, intention, and care. Such approaches often combine scientific knowledge with ancient teachings, emphasizing ritual, setting, and community as keys to unlocking cannabis's full potential. In summary, the story of cannabis today is one of both commodification and reclamation. While it is undeniably a cultural commodity in many respects, its spiritual legacy continues to inspire those seeking deeper connection, healing, and growth. Understanding this duality is essential for anyone wishing to engage with cannabis in a meaningful, responsible way. Cannabis's spiritual use is rich and varied, spanning diverse cultures and traditions around the world. Despite differing rituals and beliefs, a common thread runs through these practices: the emphasis on intention, context, and collective experience. Understanding how various spiritual paths engage with cannabis can deepen our appreciation for its sacred potential. Hinduism and the sacred plant of Shiva. One of the most well-documented spiritual uses of cannabis is found in Hinduism, where it is closely associated with Lord Shiva, the god of destruction, transformation, and regeneration. Shiva is often depicted with cannabis leaves and is believed to have taught the use of the plant to his followers. In this tradition, cannabis is consumed primarily during religious festivals, most notably during Holi, the festival of colors. Devotees drink a preparation called bhang, which blends cannabis leaves with milk, spices, and herbs. This ritual consumption is not for recreational intoxication, but a sacred act meant to dissolve the ego and open the mind to divine consciousness. The use of cannabis in this context is carefully ritualized. It is accompanied by prayers, chanting, and meditation, creating a sacred space where the plant serves as a medium for spiritual insight and connection. The collective nature of these ceremonies strengthens social bonds and shared devotion, underscoring the plant's role in community and spirituality. Rastafari. Cannabis as the holy herb. In Rastafari, a religious movement that originated in Jamaica in the 1930s, cannabis is revered as ganja, the holy herb. Rastafarians believe that cannabis is a sacrament given by Jah, God, to aid meditation, reasoning, and spiritual growth. For Rastafarians, smoking cannabis is a deeply spiritual act, often incorporated into reasoning sessions, group gatherings focused on prayer, discussion, and reflection. The herb is believed to cleanse the mind and body, facilitate communication with the divine, and promote unity among participants. The spiritual use of cannabis in Rastafari is embedded in strict moral and ethical frameworks. It is not used for casual recreation, but with reverence and discipline. The plant symbolizes peace, love, and resistance to oppression, making it a powerful emblem of cultural identity and spiritual resilience. Shamanic traditions and cannabis. In various indigenous and shamanic cultures, cannabis has been used as a tool to access altered states of consciousness for healing and divination. Although the specific use of cannabis varies widely among tribes, it is generally regarded as one of many sacred plants employed in ritual. Shamans may use cannabis smoke to purify the space, invoke spirits, or facilitate trance states. The plant's effects are harnessed as part of a broader ritual framework that includes chanting, drumming, and community participation. Importantly, the spiritual efficacy of cannabis in these traditions depends heavily on the intention and guidance of the shaman. The plant is never consumed casually, but as part of an intentional process aimed at healing, insight, or connecting with the spirit world. Modern New Age and meditative practices. In recent decades, cannabis has found a place within various New Age and meditation communities. These groups often emphasize personal spiritual exploration, healing, and consciousness expansion. Practitioners use cannabis in settings that encourage mindfulness, breath work, and deep meditation. The plant is viewed as a tool to quiet the mind, enhance sensory perception, and facilitate emotional release. While these modern uses often lack the communal or ritualistic depth of traditional practices, many users seek to create their own intentional spaces, blending ancient wisdom with contemporary spirituality. Intention, context, and collective practice. Across all these traditions, certain principles emerge as essential to the spiritual use of cannabis. Intention, the mindset and purpose behind cannabis use, shape the experience profoundly. Whether for healing, insight, or devotion, a clear and respectful intention guides the journey. Context, the setting, physical, social, and spiritual, provides the container for the experience. Ritual spaces, communal gatherings, and sacred times amplify the plant's potency. Collective practice. Many traditions emphasize the communal aspect of cannabis use. Shared ceremonies and group meditation foster a collective energy that supports spiritual growth and connection. The power and risks of cannabis in spirituality. Cannabis has powerful spiritual potential, offering insight, healing, and expanded awareness. However, without proper intention, guidance, and integration, its use carries risks like stagnation or false enlightenment, where temporary sensations replace true growth. Discernment is crucial to differentiate genuine spiritual progress from mere experience. Integration, through reflection and practice, helps transform insights into lasting wisdom. Responsible use honors the plant's power, respects personal limits, and ensures that cannabis enhances rather than hinders life and community. Conclusion: cannabis as a bridge to deeper connection. Cannabis, once a sacred plant in ancient cultures, is now a complex cultural commodity. To honor its true spiritual potential, we must approach it with intention, respect, and discernment. Used mindfully, it can lead to deep insight and healing, but without responsibility and integration, it risks causing stagnation or illusion. Cannabis serves as a bridge connecting body, mind, and spirit, calling us to engage with it consciously and compassionately as part of a spiritual tradition.